Shri Narendra Modi ji will pay an official visit to the United Arab Emirates on 13-14 February, starting tomorrow morning. This would be Prime Minister's seventh visit to the UAE. On 13th, soon after his arrival, Prime Minister's engagement would include meeting with His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the President of the UAE. Following the ceremonial welcome and reception at the Presidential Palace, the two leaders will sit down for bilateral meeting, whereafter there would be exchange of agreements and understandings after the discussions between the two leaders. This will be the fifth meeting of the two leaders in the last 8 months. It gives you a sense of intensity of high-level political exchanges between India and the UAE. Their most recent meeting was in January this year on the sidelines of Vibrant Gujarat Summit. On 13th itself, Prime Minister will be addressing a community event, Alhan Modi, in Abu Dhabi, to further strengthen our deep connect with our diaspora family in the UAE. As you know, there is roughly 3.5 million strong Indian community in the UAE. On 14th, on the invitation of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President, Prime Minister and Defense Minister of UAE and ruler of Dubai, Prime Minister will be participating in the World Government Summit 2024 as a guest of honor and deliver a special keynote address on the closing day of the summit. You would recall that previously Prime Minister had participated in the World Government Summit in 2018. A key highlight of the Prime Minister's visit to the UAE would be inauguration of the BAPS Hindu Mandir in Abu Dhabi on 14th February. You would also recall that Prime Minister had laid the foundation stone of the temple in 2018 during his visit to the UAE. In terms of substance, as we all know, India and UAE enjoy warm, close, and multifaceted relations underpinned by strong political, cultural, and economic linkages, and of course, driven by the vision and personal guidance of the leadership of the two countries. Following the landmark visit of Prime Minister to UAE in 2015, the bilateral relations between India and the UAE have undergone complete transformation. The relationship was elevated to comprehensive strategic partnership level in 2017. If I could just highlight a few of the key important elements of the substantive transformation in our exchanges. Last year, as you know, was a highly successful year in our exchanges. Intense high-level political exchanges. I've already referred to them earlier. Prime Minister visited UAE twice in 2023, in July and in December, first to participate in the COP World Climate Action Summit. Two transformative agreements like trade settlements in local currencies, MOUs in several areas including renewables, healthcare, logistics, and food parks. We've also opened up new areas of partnership between the two countries in the field of food security, education, fintech, defense, and security. We have also consolidated the India-UAE trade relationship. Following the comprehensive economic partnership agreement with the UAE, UAE has now become India's second largest export destination and the third largest trading partner. Our bilateral trade currently stands at roughly $85 billion. UAE has also become the fourth largest FDI investor in India last year. The visit of the Honorable Prime Minister to the UAE this time, and the substantive agreements and understandings that are under discussions and negotiations between the two sides would allow the two leaders to inject further momentum across the whole range of areas that we cooperate in. The visit will also afford the opportunity to engage with the other global leaders who might be present in the sidelines of the World Government Summit. From UAE, after completing his visit on 14th of February there, Honorable Prime Minister will travel to Doha, Qatar on 14th February afternoon. During the visit, Prime Minister will hold bilateral meetings with the Amir of Qatar, His Highness Amir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, and other high dignitaries in Qatar. You would recall the Prime Minister had last visited Qatar in June 2016. As such, this will be Prime Minister's second visit to Qatar. There have been several high-level exchanges between India and Qatar in recent years. You would recall the visit of Honorable Vice President to Doha in November 2022, as also the visit of the then Vice President Shri N. Venkaiah Naidu ji in June 2022. External Affairs Minister has also undertaken multiple visits to Qatar in last 3-4 years. The bilateral relationship between India and Qatar that has been steadily growing includes a comprehensive span, including political ties, trade and investment linkages, a strong energy partnership, and ties in the field of culture, education, and security. You would be aware, following the recently concluded India Energy Week, Qatar Energy and Petronet LNG Limited had signed an agreement for the supply of 7.5 MMTPA LNG from Qatar to India for 20 years starting 2028. Strong bilateral trade between India and Qatar currently stands at roughly $20 billion, and Qatar is also a significant investor in India across the whole range of economies. Strong diaspora is equally an important connect between India and Qatar. Roughly 840,000 strong, vibrant Indian community resides in Qatar. Prime Minister's visit to Qatar will provide an opportunity for the top leadership of the two countries to discuss ways to further deepen and strengthen our multifaceted partnership, as well as exchange views on different regional and international issues of mutual importance. Honorable Prime Minister will return from his two-nation visit to Delhi back on 15th of February. I would stop here and take questions that might be there.
Can we start from here? Yeshi? Okay. A couple of questions.
This is Yeshi Seli from the New Indian Express. So the PM is going to Qatar, as you just mentioned. One of the 8 naval veterans is still in Qatar. Is he likely to come back soon? And what led to their sudden return to India? If you could throw light on that.
Sridhar?
So, Sridhar from the Asian Age. So I wanted to know, it's the PM is of course going to Qatar. You issued a statement that the Amir had ordered the release, but is it equal to a royal pardon that the Amir gave? And also, could you highlight? I mean, could you speak about this personal intervention by PM Modi? Because when the two leaders spoke in December in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai. You did not reveal much details of what transpired in that conversation. So if we could get some, because we've had union ministers thanking the PM for his intervention. And also the sequence of events for the UAE visit. So is it going to be the bilateral talks first and then the temple inauguration followed by the conference? Can you just clarify the sequence of the UAE visit, sir? 13th and 14th. So first it will be the bilateral talks. So what is the sequence of the Thanks.
Smita?
Smita Sharma, I work independently. Regarding the UAE visit, keeping in mind the ongoing Israel-Palestine conflict and the differing positions, what does India see as the future for, the current status for ITU2? Where is that headed to, and IMEC as well?
Hi, Megha from NewsX. My first question is the Prime Minister visiting Qatar and meeting the Emir, is the release of the 8 veterans the reason the Prime Minister is visiting there? Second of all, is there a likelihood of any informal talks or bilateral talks between the Prime Minister and Emir during the World Government Summit that takes place in Dubai?
Uma?
Sir, I'm Huma Siddiqui from the Financial Express. You mentioned some agreements expected to be signed. Would you be able to share which areas, which sectors the agreements?
Uma Shankar? Here.
उमाशंकर एनडीटीवी से जितने भी 7 भारतीय आए हैं उन सबों ने कहा है कि पीएम के पर्सनल इंटरवेंशन के बिना ये संभव नहीं था। मेरा सवाल यही है कि किस तरह से ये पर्सनल इंटरवेंशन किया गया और उसके डिटेल्स अगर आप बता सकें।
We'll come back for more questions.
Let me take Huma's question first with regard to the agreements, MOUs that are likely to be exchanged, signed during the visit. Currently, the two sides are busy discussing, as I said, various understandings and agreements that the two sides could finalize, sign, and exchange during the visit. While at this stage, I'm not in a position to share with you specifically the list of those documents, but broadly speaking, in terms of the areas of importance and continuing to build on what the two sides have signed in the past few years, these would include understandings on in the field of energy, both relating to energy security and energy trade. There would be some understandings and documents in the larger sector of the ports, maritime, and logistics. Since digital cooperation between two economies is an important element of our partnership, we are also looking to see if we can arrive at an understandings on investments in the field of digital infrastructure, arrangements for the protection and promotion of capital flows between our two economies has become a very significant feature of our relationship in the last 10 years. This is something which also is under discussion and is a part of focus. Maritime heritage, how the two sides can cooperate in that field, is also is a very important area of ongoing discussions. And also the fintech connectivity, both relating to how the two sides can cooperate on fintech platforms, but also on fintech products, which is different, which is different from platforms per se. Railways and related infrastructure areas of cooperation, and port infrastructure that I've already touched upon. These are some of the areas in which the two delegations are currently engaged in discussions to see what kind of specific understandings could be finalized and agreed upon. We'll keep you briefed as we progress into the visit and the specific documents that get signed. Sridhar, in terms of the sequence of the thing, currently the way the program is structured, and of course these evolve as you go along, that the bilateral meetings and visits will be on the 13th, whereas the temple inauguration is on the next day, essentially. On the set of questions relating to the release of Indian nationals in case of Al Dahra case, whatever we wanted to say, we have said it in the morning. We are grateful for their return. We are gratified on their return. We deeply appreciate the decision of the Qataris government and the Amir to release them. We are happy to have 7 of those Indian nationals back. 8th Indian national has also been released, and we continue to work with the Qatar government to see how quickly his return to India would be possible. As we have said already in our statement in the morning, and people have articulated also, Honorable Prime Minister has himself personally, constantly supervised all the developments in this case, and has never shied away from any initiatives that would ensure the return of Indian nationals back to home. We can talk of different frames and terminology, like Sridhar, you mentioned, whether it's a release or a pardon, etc. But I think we should see the facts for what they are. 7 of the 8 Indian nationals of Al Dahra case are back in India, back to their homes. As I said, we are extremely gratified about it and appreciate deeply the gesture of the Emir of Qatar for their release, and continue to work on the return of the 8th Indian national. Smita, to your question with regard to impact of the ongoing Israel-Palestine conflict on the I2U2 and IMAC, no doubt the developments relating to the conflict in Gaza are always an important part of conversations whenever the leaders meet. But irrespective of that, the institutional engagement and the specific projects that the two countries and the in case of IMAC, set of other countries involved, and in case of I2U2, the other partners, the agenda of partnership, agenda of cooperation that has been outlined in these two mechanisms is proceeding well. The different sides involved in this are continuing to hold regular discussions to make progress, and we are expecting. I mentioned the general category of ports, maritimes, and logistics as one of the areas of cooperation. A lot of this you would appreciate also deals with the infrastructure segments which fall under the IMAC corridor. With regard to, I think from the NewsX, the question was on the informal talks between the Amir and the leadership. Look, we have already mentioned about Honorable Prime Minister's visit to Qatar after conclusion of his visit to UAE. The sideline visits on the sidelines of the World Government Summit will keep you briefed as and when they continue to come up on radar and specific meetings are held. उमाशंकर जी, आपके प्रश्न का उत्तर जो मैंने पहले टिप्पणी की उसमें निहित है कि प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी व्यक्तिगत रूप से इस विषय का जो लेके सुपरविजन करते रहे हैं और उनके सशक्त नेतृत्व का प्रमाण ही है ये एक प्रकार से, और संबंधों की सशक्तता को भी दर्शाता है कि 8 भारतीय नागरिकों में से दाल दाहरा केस के 7 नागरिक इस समय अपनी भारत भूमि पे वापस लौट गए। Look, the visits of the Prime Minister, any visits, not just this visit, but all visits are planned and scheduled, and the discussions on that scheduling starts months in advance. And we announce those visits as and when those schedulings get completed.
So we'll take more questions. Please. Yeah. Same question.
Picture.
Kalol and
So this is Kaulur from the Hindu. My question is regarding the fate of the Indian prisoners, especially in United Arab Emirates and Qatar, because the UAE, where the Prime Minister is headed, currently holds at least 2,100 Indian prisoners in its jails. And Qatar alone holds around the 752 Indian prisoners, apart from the 8 who have been released. So I want to ask, is the government going to raise the issue of these prisoners at some point during these visits? And also, most of these prisoners are from very, underprivileged background, laborers and people accused of petty crimes who don't get enough legal assistance. So would the government also consider supporting them in some way so that they could also come back home?
the lady there, please.
Hi, sir. I'm Amity Sen from Hindu Business Line. So this $2 billion of investments promised by UAE in the food parks under the I2U2. Sir, will that also be a topic of discussion, and what is the status of that?
Can go to Sudhi here.
Sir, Shubhi Ranjan from the Bloomberg, sir. On the Qatar case, if you could give us an understanding, we understand that this would have been a pardon from the Emir. Who then moved the, mercy petitions? Was it government of India or the veterans themselves?
So we have one more here. Sahil.
Sir, I'm Sahil from ANI. Regarding this big diplomatic victory, how did India manage it and how did they process it?
Listen, insofar as all the questions relating to Qatar and the return of 7 of the 8 Indian nationals who are back in India are concerned, I think we've already answered, issued a statement. Whatever is to be said on that has been said, and I would not have anything further to add. Kalol, to your question with regard to the number of Indian prisoners in the UAE and in Qatar, and indeed in other countries, not just these 2 countries. A government of India has extensive mechanisms in place of consular dialogues and discussions involving the Indian system and the systems in those countries whose one of the principal tasks is to keep working towards the early release of all the Indian prisoners, irrespective of which country they are. There are also very established mechanisms and systems in place which ensure that whatever assistance, wherever possible, is to be made available to these prisoners is made available through the government mechanisms. These are the systems which have been strengthened enormously, whose remit has been expanded extensively, where strong support by the government is embedded in them. These have been put in place, particularly over the last 10 years, under the ministership of Honorable Prime Minister Modi. This applies very much, as I said, to the current 2 countries also, where Honorable Prime Minister is visiting. And there are established dialogue mechanisms which take up that. I don't want to prejudge the discussions that would take place at the leadership level, but I want to mention to you that this is something which is very regularly and extensively taken up on the system-wide basis by the Government of India. To the question from the Hindu Business Line on the $2 billion investments on the food park, as I mentioned to you in response to one of the earlier questions, all projects that have been identified under I2U2 and food park project predates, even the I2U2. Those discussions are continuing between the relevant stakeholders on the UAE side as also on the Indian side, because some of these parties on the Indian side and the UAE side are private sector parties. So the project and the discussions under those projects continue to be held between the 2 sides.
You had asked again. Sir, one last question we have, Madhu here.
सर मधुरेंद्र, मैं न्यूज़ नेशन से जैसा कि प्रधानमंत्री अबू धाबी में पेप्स के मंदिर के उद्घाटन के लिए जा रहे हैं, मैं जानना चाहूँगा कि इस पूरे ही कार्यक्रम का प्रारूप क्या होगा, खासतौर पे प्रधानमंत्री वहाँ पर जब उद्घाटन करेंगे तो जो पूजा पाठ की श्रृंखला होगी वो क्या होगी, और साथ ही क्या मंदिर से प्रधानमंत्री संबोधित भी करेंगे?
देखिए, बैप्स मंदिर का जो इनॉग्रेशन का प्रोग्राम है वो प्रधानमंत्री जी के यूएई यात्रा का एक प्रमुख अंग है। उसकी विस्तृत जानकारी जो इनॉग्रेशन से पहले है, उसकी क्या रूपरेखा होगी, वहाँ पे कितने लोग उपस्थित होंगे। अभी तक की जानकारी ये है कि लगभग 2000 से 5000 श्रद्धालुओं की उपस्थिति की अपेक्षा है वहाँ पर। प्रोग्राम काफ़ी विस्तृत है। उसकी जो प्रत्यक्ष रूप से रूपरेखा है, उस रूपरेखा का समय सारणी क्या रहेगी, उसके क्या भाग रहेंगे, वो हम आपको इनॉग्रेशन से यथापूर्वक और यथोचित समय पे सूचित अवश्य करेंगे। देखिए, मैंने आपसे कहा कि उस प्रोग्राम का जो स्वरूप है, उसकी जो रूपरेखा है, हम उसके बारे में आपको पूरी तरह से सूचित करेंगे।
Well, thank you. There are no more questions. We close this session. Thank you very much for your participation and look forward to our engagement. I'm sure some of you are traveling or your teams are traveling to UAE. We'll keep in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, Honorable President of Sri Lanka, His Excellency Ranil Wickremesinghe, Honorable Prime Minister of Mauritius, Bank of Mauritius, Honorable Ministers, Excellencies and distinguished guests, Namaskar. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all today to this special event to witness the launch of UPI services in Sri Lanka and Mauritius and RuPay card in Mauritius. We begin today's event by screening a short video on UPI and RuPay card services that are being launched today.
Since 2014, under the visionary leadership of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, the digital payment landscape in India has been revolutionized. UPI has made life easier for millions in India and put the country at the forefront of digital payments worldwide. UPI achieved a significant milestone by crossing 100 billion transactions in 2023 with almost 400 million transactions daily, reaffirming its position as a preferred mode of digital transactions in the country. India and Sri Lanka are close maritime neighbors with a legacy of historical, intellectual, cultural and linguistic ties. During the visit of President Ranil Wickremesinghe to New Delhi in July 2023, both leaders adopted the India-Sri Lanka Economic Partnership Vision document aimed at enhancing connectivity in all dimensions, including fintech connectivity, air connectivity and maritime connectivity as a key enabler for growth and economic prosperity. prosperity. In addition to being Sri Lanka's largest trade partner, India is also one of the largest contributors to foreign direct investment in Sri Lanka. In recent years, the largest number of tourists visiting Sri Lanka are from India. In 2023, more than 300,000 Indian tourists traveled to Sri Lanka from India. With guidance from the Reserve Bank of India and the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, two pioneering companies, NPCI International Payments Limited and LankaPay, Sri Lanka's national payment network, have set the stage for a historic journey through a groundbreaking collaboration. This will enable Indian tourists to experience the ease and convenience of transacting through UPI-powered apps while visiting Sri Lanka. Let us see how they can make QR code-based merchant payments enabled by LankaPay. Indian citizens should activate UPI Global or UPI International on their UPI-powered apps before making QR code-based merchant payments in Sri Lanka. Scan the Lanka QR, enter the amount, verify with UPI PIN. The payment is successful. For merchants in Sri Lanka, it opens doors to a broader customer base, allowing them to accept digital payments from Indian tourists, making business smoother than ever. Enjoy the beach, savor Sri Lankan cuisine, and admire the architectural wonders. Reserve Bank of India and NIPL, in collaboration with Central Bank of Sri Lanka and LankaPay, are connecting nations and fostering shared prosperity through digital payments. India and Mauritius ties are rooted in strong commercial, cultural, and people-to-people links. In recent years, both countries have been working to deepen digital and fintech connectivity, leading to new possibilities for collaboration and growth. Today, there are over 20,000 Indian residents in Mauritius. In the last 5 years, India has been amongst the leading trading partners of Mauritius. The implementation of the Metro Express light rail transit supported by India is one of the latest major developments in Mauritius. To add to this, Reserve Bank of India and Bank of Mauritius have collaborated to facilitate UPI QR code-based payment solution and RuPay card acceptance in both Mauritius and India. Around 75,000 Indian tourists visit Mauritius in a year. Let us see how they can make QR code-based merchant payments. To start using UPI, simply download a preferred UPI-powered app from the App Store or Play Store. Indian citizens should activate UPI Global or UPI International on their UPI-powered apps before making QR code-based merchant payments in Mauritius. Similarly, around 30,000 Mauritians.
Thank you.
Mutual importance. Honorable Prime Minister will return from his two-nation visit to Delhi back on 15th of February. I would stop here and take questions that might be there.
Can we start?